All right, welcome back, everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 replay cast. We're continuing on where we left off. For those of you that don't know the last video on the channel, it was a best of 9 part 1. So that means naturally we're now heading into best of 9 part 2. This is commentated a little bit later as I kind of had to hop off for a little bit. This is the last time I'm disappearing unless something major happens in my life. I sort of had my one longer disappearance. Then I actually went to Korea, so I had a lot of StarCraft going on, but nothing to actually do with commentating. So that was a bit of a break, but I'm back now, getting right on into this best of 3. We left off. Sol had actually taken himself a 3-0 lead versus Stefano, and I just said best of 3. I mean, it's a best of 9. So a lot of StarCraft 2. That's why this is broken up into parts. Going to be doing multiple parts here. And yeah, we'll see how this is going to go. I guess I should introduce the players since it's kind of the start of the video. Up in the top left, it's Gamers Origin Stefano, one of the top Zerg player at his prime. There's no doubt about that. But now he's kind of just not playing as seriously, but still plays at a very high level. Still plays a very solid style all across the board. And so he was actually playing a best of 9 versus this man in the bottom right hand side of the map, who's probably one of my favorite Terran players and one of my favorite players overall. It's Sol for Team Mkers. And those of you that don't know Sol, he's a younger Polish Terran player. He plays at an incredible high level, but he hasn't quite had major success yet. Part of the reason for that, I think, is maybe just still the lack of fair to say, I think, experience. He has yet to have his really big breakout, but he does play at a very high level, plays just so good, takes games off guys like Cyril. But that being said, Stefano is no slouch and is incredibly good in the ZVT matchup. Probably his best matchup, if I had to say so, just from the nature of how he plays, kind of reactive, kind of likes lots of spellcasters. That last game I cast between him and Sol was just like a crazy mass infester sort of play. Looks like the audio might not be around here, so let me just fix that up. There we go. Got the audio back. We only made it 2 minutes into the cast before this, but look at this. Sol, while I was fixing the audio, actually threw down an eBay to block the third of the Zerg and then sends in the Reaper. So now the Lynx and Stefano are going to run on out to try and cancel this. They get that up, but it's going to cost them at least one Ling, I think. Stefano can't really get this Reaper, so Sol just being a pain, denying this expansion still. And yeah, just putting the pressure on Stefano a little bit. Sol is such a good Terran player. I'm curious to see the score for this best of 9, but we'll see where it's going to go from here. Sol just denying this third base still more and more. This Reaper just constantly forcing this drone to turn into an extractor to save its life. Look at that, Sol just being a pain. The Queen finally does run on over to save that drone, but then blocks the hatchery herself. So Stefano does get up his third base, but a little bit later, and Sol just trucking on, gets up his natural base, going for a starport behind this, so a very standard Terran opening, just a 1-1-1 for starters. We'll see if he throws up a third base, maybe he'll throw up an armory and go for a Banshee or something like that. It's really tough to say, but, I mean, as far as this goes so far, not saying far enough. I mean, I do like this for Sol, just, he's a very good Terran player off the back of just like a normal opening. If he does die to something, it's usually some sort of aggression that's going to knock him down, because he's a very strong third command center player. Once he's someone who's on 3, say 4 bases, he generally does a pretty darn good job early on. It's just, or once it gets to that stage, as long as he makes it through the early on and whatnot. So what we're seeing right now, Sol making a Liberator, which is a harassment type I'm incredibly fond of. I honestly think at times it's better than, say, Banshee harassment, or better than, I don't know, any other kind of harassment you want to go for, because they're such a thing to deal with, as you got to reposition a Spore. Sometimes the Liberator can bounce around. It kills Queens very well, and yeah, really forces a response from a Zerg player that requires a lot of finesse. Now, Sol, as far as what he's doing, though, he's going for a very quick third command center behind this, so just going for that greed. He knows he's comfortable at that later stage of the game. That being said, we'll see if Stefano can scout or do anything about this. For now, it's just that battle going on. Hellions poking at the front, trying to deny the Zerg's creep spread. But what I do like from STEPHANO here is the fact that he's going for some links, sending them around the map right now. We'll see if he's able to sniff out this third base. If he does, he could potentially cancel it. Soul has a nice wall at the front of his natural base, but that doesn't protect his third base. And does STEPHANO see it? He doesn't actually see the third, though, and that's not usually where you'd expect it to be. We're seeing the Liberator managed to pick off a couple of 3 drones in total here so far. But, yeah, nothing... Oh, look at this. Ling's getting in for STEPHANO. They turn around, but they are going to meet there in there. There's like 1 Ling left hanging out, but he goes down too. So a lot of early aggression, or, I mean, no, not early aggression. Just a lot of good stuff going on early on in this game for Soul. Okay, guys, apparently going to Korea doesn't improve your commentary at all. Let's just say that. I mean, it might improve your gameplay a little bit, but commentating, it's kind of like... kind of not like riding a bike. You can fall off a little bit, but we're getting back into the swing of it. And I was just like, oh man, I gotta finish this. Having to leave before finishing this best of 9, I was like, oh no. But just the way that it worked out. But now I'm back and just jumping right on into it. So let's take a look here. Hellion still sharking around for Soul. Just going to be denying the odd creep tumor here and there. And yeah, let's take a look. So far, STEPHANO getting his 1-1 on the way. Soul already has his 1-1 on the way. And I think this is looking pretty darn good for Soul. We take a look at the supply and see how he's powering up. You'll see STEPHANO has a very nice drone and worker count, but Soul went for a very quick third base. He's powering up, getting up his production. We have yet to see a few more barracks go up for him just yet, but he's built up a good number of supply already to put some pressure on his opponent. He's still got this Liberator, which is going to be able to harass more. And we'll see if Soul's able to really hurt STEPHANO right now. If STEPHANO can hold this push, it's going to be pretty alright for him. But Soul is going to be coming in with a fair bit of muscle right now. It's a higher supply for the Terran. There's already Stim done. There's going to be 1-1 done relatively soon. And these tanks and Hellbats are going to be going in with this push. If Soul waits a second, he will have Combat Shield and 1-1, but he does seem to want to push now. He's going to set up a tank on the high ground. He's got the Hellbats to buffer versus the Zerglings. The Hellbats will slaughter the Zerglings. However, there are Banelings to try and neutralize that, so Soul might have overcommitted here. His Marine's really running onto this creep. Got to be careful. For now, he is just buying time, though, slowly pushing into his opponent. Just gonna have his 1-1 done and Combat Shield soon, but looks like STEPHANO pulling the trigger before that happens. Hellbats defending this tank, but Banelings are gonna crash on in. Soul holds up the tank on the high ground, which is actually getting off some very nice shots, though. So beautifully done here by Soul. So getting a nice bit of trades there. How many kills on that tank? 15 kills, no small amount there. That being said, though, Soul got a fair bit of damage done. However, STEPHANO, I mean, he got a fair bit of unit damage done, but so far STEPHANO is staying alive. We're seeing him look for a potential Ling counterattack maybe, but Soul is also dropping all over the map. This is a tough time here trying to commentate this because man, my observing, it's getting a welcome back from Soul. He's forcing action all over the map right now. Just poking into STEPHANO on the left. He had that Liberator harassment, then he denied the space here to the north. Coming on in, picking off more and more creep. STEPHANO is engaging into these Marines. Looks like an R8 trade for Soul, though. We'll see if STEPHANO can shut this down. Banelings roll forward, does force the Terran player back, so that's nice for STEPHANO. However, Soul just continuously poking all over the map right now. Marines unloading here with the Medivac support. Looks like they're going to win out on this front, and here goes Soul running in towards the third of STEPHANO. Picks off a few drones here. Nothing too major, as STEPHANO's drone count is still pretty darn high. However, Soul is just keeping the pressure on. We'll see if he keeps this going. This is exactly what I mean when Soul is a player who does incredibly well when he hits his stride. That's because he macros up while getting these drops off and does a pretty darn good job of it here. So, a fourth base on the way up for Soul. Meanwhile, he's just dropping all over STEPHANO. That being said, STEPHANO has fallen down a little bit in supply, but he is doing what a Zerg player needs to do, and the main component of that is stay alive in a game of Starcraft 2 versus a Terran. Now, that's generally because the Zerg is favored in the late game here, so Soul putting this pressure on STEPHANO is very nice. He's trying to slow the Zerg player down, but he's not really going for a major kill move or anything like this. And oh man, these Marines are so overstimmed. He's really making me nervous. Soul, you gotta heal those guys up if you can, but he's just constantly stimming because he wants to charge and get more damage done. These Marines are unloading, but they are not in the best spot. There's Lings and Banes waiting for them. Now, let's see how this game's going so far. Soul, he's really starting to reach for that late game. He's not a player who's afraid of the late game. In fact, he's one of the best Terran players in the late game. I believe even Cyril himself said that Soul is the best Terran player or one of the best Terran players at the late game, like better than Korean Terrans. And that's because Soul does play versus all these good European Zergs on the ladder that do play a lot of late game. So now, let's take a look here. STEPHANO, we'll see how he is going to do reaching the late game. So far, he hasn't really teched to Infestors or anything like that. He's really focusing on getting a lot of muscle out in the sense of his Hydraling Bane, which is a very in-your-face, straight-up strong composition for the Zerg. But we'll see if Soul's able to muster something to deal with this. Right now, he is down on supply versus the Zerg, army supply-wise. However, he does have tanks, he's got a good chunk of bio here, and he is equal on upgrades, heading towards an upgrade advantage with his 3-3. So we'll see how this game's going to progress for now. The good Hydra count of STEPHANO. How's the Baneling count to support it, though? Only 12, so not a massive number. If Soul's clumped up, though, it doesn't need to be too many Banelings, though, and we're actually seeing STEPHANO pulling the trigger on Soul right now, and the Banelings actually get pretty massive connections there. Looks like STEPHANO actually going to crush forward into Soul right now. The tanks and all the bio were all just too exposed there. The bio just got trapped into a corner. Soul not expecting a snap engagement like that. Beautifully done by STEPHANO. Really hurt the Terran player there. Getting a very good trade for the Zerg. Just actually, that was fantastic for STEPHANO. Soul really got knocked down on supply there. The Banelings got fantastic connections, but look at this. Soul not getting knocked back too far. Always having to drop on the go. Drops towards the third base, putting the pressure onto STEPHANO. Got to be careful not to lose these medivacs, though. But still, I mean, that definitely did hurt for Soul. Getting his unit count really reset there. He's got to rebuild all of his bio here. Fortunately for Soul, he wasn't like just super committed to that army. He's got a good economy to back this up, establishing more and more CCs, going for a double expand at once, which is something I'm such a huge fan of in StarCraft 2. If you are a StarCraft 2 player, I'm going to say this pretty much whenever I cast, if you're a StarCraft 2 player and you have the option to double expand, if you've got the money, you might be like, maybe I should make a couple of extra units. It's not that big of a difference. Say, if you're going to make a couple of extra Marines or something in a late game situation or in a later game situation, going for the expansion, almost always worth it, in my opinion. Same applies for Zerg and Protoss, not just for Soul here. And that's because if you happen to lose a base, you've got that extra one to fall back on. And look at this right now. Looks like Soul baiting STEPHANO into a bit of a fight right now, getting some nice tank shots off on that army, and actually catching a huge number of the Hydras here. STEPHANO making a move command mistake there. Those Hydras beautifully intercepted by Soul, so Soul had a bad engagement earlier on, but really getting a nice pick off there with getting those units. Denies his base to the north here, and we are seeing STEPHANO try and go for multiple expansions as well, which is great to see. That is a critical component of the late game, and look at this. Soul, so many CCs on the way, really not afraid to play the late game, actually going for a bunker up at the front of this planetary, which is kind of cute. It's like, hey, I don't think this PF can defend itself, so this bunker and 2 Marauders are going to do the job. Which is kind of interesting there. Look at this, STEPHANO, though, even throwing up another hatchery. Really liking how these guys are playing it. Just double expand. If one of them gets canceled, you got another on the go. And otherwise, you just got an extra base that you can just mule whenever. Looks like Soul going to be dropping this base to the south here. Might just fly right on by. We'll see if he does unload to cancel that. For now, yeah, it looks like STEPHANO has sniffed this out. So may be able to save that base here. We'll see if Soul does unload there. No, just going to go right on back. So STEPHANO keeping that base alive. Nicely done. Getting his 3-3 upgrades finished up. Nicely done. Looks like a fairly small engagement here out on the map. No major push has gone down on either front because the map is Thunderbird. It is a fairly big commitment to go across the map and attack, and that's generally because there's a lot of angles for your opponent to come from. For example, if Soul pushes into STEPHANO, he's probably going to get us around just based on the fact that there's so many hills and just different positions that STEPHANO can come from. Looks like STEPHANO might actually be going for it just right out the gate right now, though. Hydra's, so many Lings going to be running on in here, and the question is, does Soul have the bio to really counter this? And I'm not sure he does. That is a ton of Lings that have ran forward for STEPHANO, and it actually is going to clean up this army of Soul. A pretty equal trade from the SEMA things, but still a nice move for STEPHANO. We do see this planetary is now going to be under fire. Can this be broken? Looks like it will be, so that's very nice for STEPHANO picking that off. Not too much other damage getting done, but picking off that planetary, a nice move there. Soul does have extra bases, though, because he is doing that multiple expansion, so it's not like when either of these players lose a base, they're completely done for, because the bases aren't critical, which is why you always want to go for multiple if you can. So while Soul did lose that base, he's got this other fresh one to the north, and is even securing this one up here, getting up another planetary. Does he have building armor? Yes, he does have building armor, so those planetaries going to stay alive a little bit longer. Now let's take a look at what STEPHANO's doing. It is interesting to see that the Zerg player isn't really going for these late game tech units. STEPHANO really just sticking on Hydraling Bane when Soul is actually teching up into Ghost, going to be getting up nukes, more tanks and everything. STEPHANO not going for infestors or anything like that. Actually went for a few burrowed banelings there, which was kind of nice. But as far as anything else goes, no infestors, no vipers, no ultras, nothing like that for the Zerg player. And this is an interesting choice, but we'll see how it's going to pay off for STEPHANO. And so far, it's looking all right for him. I mean, he's getting pretty decent trades so far. We'll see if he's able to keep that going, though. Going to be able to pick off a command center here, which is nice. That's not a cheap unit to lose for Soul. But let's take a look. Soul now pushing on in towards another base of STEPHANO. There's burrowed banelings that go off once more. Not sure if that was cost efficient. Killed a couple of Marines for a couple of Banes. Right now, looks like STEPHANO is just focused on pushing Soul back. And if he does push him back here, oh, look at that. A mule actually dropped. Not sure what that guy's going to get done there, as the base he was planning to mine at really getting shut down. And oh, look at this. STEPHANO actually picking off most of Soul's medivacs. That's some really nice damage. And one thing that we are seeing right now is that the standing army of STEPHANO is pretty good. Hold that thought, though. There's a nuke getting called on in for Soul. The first, maybe, of many, as this nuke now going to land on the space. STEPHANO, though, good reaction. Going to avoid that. Lose like a larva. And that's about it. Poor Ghost going to die. So this game heading on into a later situation here, but as I was saying, STEPHANO just sticking on the Hydraling Bane is interesting, and now I can actually see this working. That's because basically Soul's going into all these high-tech expensive units, where STEPHANO's is kind of just like mass cheap units, but that fight clearly didn't work out for him. Attacking into that tank line cost him a lot of Zerglings there. So you got to be careful for STEPHANO, but for example, if STEPHANO takes like an alright trade versus Soul, he's going to be trading like Hydras and Lings for, say, Ghosts and Tanks and Liberators, which are a lot more expensive than just, say, the Hydraling Bane. And look at this, STEPHANO coming in with his Hydras, going to be trying to get a base here. Going to eat a few snipes, though, so that's pretty good for Soul. And STEPHANO, yeah, just making a ton of Lings, actually. Look at this. He's just building up a massive gas bank, if I had to guess, for a ton of infestors later, but I don't know if STEPHANO's going to live that long. Soul just cleaned up most of STEPHANO's army, who's making more Zerglings, when really I think he should be spending a bit of this gas, maybe on some Banelings. There's the first few infestors. Is there pathogen glands? Yes, there is. So STEPHANO's going to be able to start making infestors to try and deal with this Zerg army. We saw memes of like 50 infestors for STEPHANO in the last game, but I don't know if it's going to work out too well this game. It looks like a nice catch here for STEPHANO. Going to catch a good chunk of Soul's Marines there. Looks like a bit of a counterattack going on in here too. There is a ton of Lings attacking the planetary. No SCVs to repair the planetary, so these Lings will indeed get through this. The Hydras really help chew through that. But look at this. Oh, a nice attack here going on from Soul. Picking off one of STEPHANO's bases. And STEPHANO, I mean, he secured a fair few bases early on, but he has started to be knocked back by Soul. Looking at this, we're seeing basically... Yeah, looks like we're just seeing like STEPHANO start to lose a lot of his bases. I mean, Soul has picked off a good number of them. We're seeing some harassment go down here from STEPHANO, just like a single infestor. Gonna be dropping an infested Terran, but Soul now starting to nuke all over the map and all sorts of other things. So let's take a look at what's gonna go on next here. Nuke being dropped. Is it gonna land? Is it? Oh god, STEPHANO, you're making me nervous. He does end up running all the drones and infestors, though, as he didn't have an overseer to pick off that Ghost. Ghost even avoiding a fungal. I don't know if he's gonna make it far. No, he doesn't. Another Ghost is running by, though. Will that one get picked off? Not quite. A wall of spores and spines, though, might just do that job, but looks like Soul actually just going to decide to nuke that. So keeping the pressure on STEPHANO. We're even seeing another Ghost run forward with some bio. I wonder if that's going to be for a nuke or just trying to get some action there. But we see the army of Soul, and it is looking a lot better than that of STEPHANO. STEPHANO is at the point in which he's just making mass infestors, which, I mean, infestors are pretty darn good units. There's been a lot of balance talk about them lately from the Terrans and Protoss players. Even some Zergs have been like, yeah, they're all right. But STEPHANO, he might be going a bit ham on them, we'll see. You really got to have a good economy and everything else to back up the infestors. And, oh man, these Marines are just doing work here as Soul is dropping onto the Zerg player. We'll see, does he get cleaned up? Looks like he... these Marines, they actually just killed all those Zerglings. That's really rough here for STEPHANO. Gonna have to reposition a spine to deal with them. Reposition a lot of spines, actually. Getting a bit of a counterattack with this infestor, but the problem is Soul has a bank and can afford to lose these things. STEPHANO really does not. So he's just getting a ton of infestors. He's got a massive gas bank, so 30 infestors is actually the number here for STEPHANO. Double nukes getting called in on him, though. I don't even know where that other ghost is. Wait, where's the ghost, man? There's a nuke being called on in here. Where's the ghost? Okay, I see one there, but these nukes are getting a bit close to the Terran army. I didn't even see where... Oh, there it was. Oh, up there just sneaking around. Looks like STEPHANO getting nuked a little bit here. Gonna pick off this one ghost, cancel that nuke, but the Terran army is still pretty darn scary. However, the Terran army, while being pretty darn scary, is actually rather split up, so there's a chance that STEPHANO can just wash this army. It's going to be tough, though. Infestor's going to go from the rear, try and catch onto this army. But then Soul also has to deal with this army to the south, or STEPHANO has to deal with this army to the south, and this is starting to hit his economy, what really remains of it. So we'll see if STEPHANO can clean up this army and then maybe deal with the other one. Here he goes, Infestors from the rear. What spells are they going to use? Lots of infested. Terran seems to be the choice. Tanks getting completely surrounded there. Infestors running forward. More and more infested. Terran getting thrown on out. STEPHANO, though, is taking a beating to the south here. If he can save this base, I want to say it may be salvageable for him, but otherwise it's going to be a little bit tough. So he cleans up this army, which is a very nice starting move, but he does have to save this base here. Where's the spells there? Lots of infested Terran getting thrown on out. Is it going to be in time to save the base? Looks like it's going to be really close. Soul had right-clicked on it, but he's not going to get the base there, so that's very important for STEPHANO. However, we do take a look at the base count, and it's looking pretty good for the Terran. Looks like an infested Terran is actually got killed there by some SCVs, and Soul is securing a lot of bases here right now, so the economy is just looking pretty darn good for the Terran. We'll pull that up there. Yeah, definitely a lot more red there. Resources lost is actually in favor for STEPHANO, so Soul's playing like the Zerg, and that's generally what you see with a lot of infestors, as they're probably one of the most cost-efficient units in the game. Looks like another nuke being called on in, though. Does this ghost get cleaned on up? Looks like it will do, so STEPHANO saves the day there. But STEPHANO, he really does need to secure another base somehow, as Soul's done a very good job shutting this down. But look at this, STEPHANO, he doesn't really seem to care about an economy as long as he's got a lot of infestors. Neural Parasite going to be finishing up, so adding another spell for those infestors, but look at that, they just destroy that command center. STEPHANO's a small non-infestor portion of his ground army is getting caught out here. Lots of infestors getting gunned down, but they do toss out a ton of infested Terran, which are going to engage into this bio, start working away in the tanks, start working away in the medivacs and liberators, but STEPHANO did lose one of his critical bases. We'll see if he's able to clean up this army. More infested Terran getting thrown on out, just going to surround this Terran force. Lots of infestors have been picked off by liberators and bio, but looks like STEPHANO may hold on here. Oh, the nuke kills off a lot of infested Terran, though. They did do their job, and looks like a bit of a counterattack. Infestor hit squad going to be moving on in here, picking off this command center. So Soul is starting to lose some bases here, starting to take a bit of damage, and we look at the supply. It's actually pretty darn close. Now, the income is existent for Soul, whereas STEPHANO, it's really not. He's long-distance mining to an incredibly small degree. It looks like this ghost is going to get caught here. Fungal gets tossed down. Infested Terran hug there. Look at that, just walling that ghost in. So he's going to go down. But we do take a look. And while Soul's lost more resources than his opponent, and he has taken a bit of an economic beating, but still in a much better spot than STEPHANO, who is long distance mining, and eventually needs to get up a new hatchery or something. I mean, STEPHANO does still have 31 infestors, though. You can never count out the infestors. Soul just trying to bait out these spells here. Lots of ghosts running on in, though, getting some EMP off on the Zerg player's army. More and more infested Terran getting thrown on out. Soul is just looking to engage right on into this, though, and the infested Terran do get slaughtered by the Marines. The EMP from the Ghost really making these infestors useless now, as they have pretty much no energy. There needs to be at least a few fungals here for STEPHANO, but I don't even know if there's that, so he's just got to run away, but infestors are starting to get gunned down. Oh no, there needs to be a fungal. Oh, there's a very nice fungal there from STEPHANO. Soul's army really getting surrounded and caught there. Some of those units getting picked off, but the problem is there's pretty much actually nothing to defend these infestors. Infestors need a few bodyguards or something to help him out, and there is nothing like that for STEPHANO, so he just lost like a good chunk of infestors. How many have died this game? 30 infestors have died this game, so what a meme. How many lings, how many infestors? 667 Zerglings have died this game. That is an odd number, so I don't know how that works. There must be a ling around somewhere. I'm actually not exactly sure how that one works. I guess a Baneling died or something as well, but we take a look. That is just a lot of lings and a lot of infestors. That's where most of the money that STEPHANO made this game went. We see infestor harassment going on at this base once again. Soul hasn't actually gone in to kill STEPHANO once again, but he does have to deal with these infestors somehow, which is a bit of a pain here. But, I mean, we'll see. All it takes is STEPHANO getting a few good fungal growths off on this army, and maybe he can make something happen, as the infestor is very powerful. Probably the most solid single spellcaster on their own at the moment in the game, because they can really defend themselves better than, say, a High Templar, or better than, like, a Raven or anything like that. Looks like STEPHANO moving on in to attack this base. Infested Terran and Fungal getting tossed down. Loses one of his infestors, though. Infested Terran will help clean up this army. Soul, yeah, I mean, is he gonna shut down the space? I don't know. It's tough to say, because the main army of the Terran player is gonna be moving in, and Soul's got to be careful to save some energy. You know, or STEPHANO has to make sure he can save some energy in order to shut down this army. But oh, there's some nasty ghost snipes going down on this. Some more infested Terran getting thrown down to clean these guys out, but that's most of the energy gone. And GG, Soul takes the game. So we're gonna hop on into the next part of this cast, which is going to be map number 5 in this best of 9. So far, that is indeed, though, a 4-0 lead for Soul. So I'll just be back in right a second here, and then we'll be loaded into the next game. Guys, but before I do just cut to the next game, make sure to press that like button, as this is a lot of StarCraft 2 casting just for me getting right back. And yeah, feel free to hit that like button. Trying to hit 20 likes on each of my videos. That's the goal at the moment. And if you're new to the channel, of course, and you're watching part 2 of 3, I don't know why you didn't subscribe while watching part 1. That's the real good question there. But if you are new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next time, and I'll be back in just a sec here. All right, here we are into the next game, everyone. So you probably know who the players are if you're watching the 5th match. It is a best of 9, and Soul has found himself up 4-0, which is kind of insane. 4-0 versus STEPHANO, a very good result. But we'll see what he's whether he's going to be able to close it out or not. I mean, it does look a little bit rough for STEPHANO. I mean, if you want to win this, you got to reverse sweep as casting these. But we'll see. Is he able to do it? Do you guys believe? What you got to believe in, though, of your Soul is the 2 racks apparently is. We'll see if he's able to take game number 5 with it, and actually just 5-0 STEPHANO. Now, you guys might be like, all right, LaughNgamez, why are you casting this? Clearly, STEPHANO's just memeing, making all these infestors. I'm casting it because I love these 2 players, and I don't even think that there was, like, a dollar or anything on the line for this show match. I think it was just one for fun that they did on stream or something like that, which is really cool to see. I don't know, maybe someone, like, had a bit of a prize pot going for him or something, but this is just, like, a for fun show match between these 2 guys, and that's why clearly STEPHANO has been having fun making like 50 infestors that game, which is just insane. Just make a bunch of lings, you'll save the gas, then make a ton of infestors. However, I don't know if STEPHANO is going to get to infestors this game, because Soul's going for a 2-racks, and so far it has not been scouted by the Zerg, and it's not an early pool or anything like that, which generally spells trouble for a Zerg, but Two Raxes are always like a mixed bag as to whether they're successful or not. It's tough to say. Looks like Soul is going to be going in with his SCV relatively soon here, but wait, did STEPHANO go for... Okay, never mind. Ignore me, ladies and gentlemen. STEPHANO actually did go for an early pool to counter this. So this is actually fantastic for STEPHANO. I see this as an absolute win, if you will. So Soul runs on in, he sees that that's getting out. He sees that that hatchery is just not even finished yet, and he's like, uh-oh, we're not even close to finish. So that means that STEPHANO is now going to have to roll on up, or Soul's going to have to try and micro versus these Lings with his Marines. He's actually switching into Reapers, by the way, which is kind of insane. Something pretty unorthodox here. We'll see if it's going to work out. Looks like a good micro from Soul is going to, was alright micro. He lost 2 Marines for the 6 Lings. They're pretty decent trade. However, it is kind of concerning here for the Zerg player, as STEPHANO has managed to hold on so far. He's got a spine crawler on the way, and yeah, STEPHANO basically knows, and the hardest part of holding a 2-Rax is the very first push, and just due to the nature of the build, STEPHANO did hold that on. We are seeing Soul. He's going to try and get up a bunker here. That might be a bit of a pipe dream, though, as there's already a spine, a queen, and some Lings on the low ground, and there's literally just 1 Marine to enforce this. So Soul going to back up, going to go home, and actually just going to make like 1 more Reaper here out of this barracks. He floated the other one off, so it's going to be like 3 Reapers out on the map for Soul. Of course, he is going to have a speed advantage, as there's no speed for STEPHANO. But I don't know what these Reapers are going to be able to get done. It looks like they're going to jump to the back of the natural here. Might be able to nab up a few drones. We'll see. It looks like he gets 2 drones there. In goes Soul, gonna spot the fact that there's a Rotorn on the way, tossing down a grenade to bounce the Queen to keep these Reapers alive. However, STEPHANO looking to go for a surround, picks off one of the Reapers there. These other Reapers could be getting surrounded here. Fortunately for Soul, they're pretty darn slippery. So those 2 Reapers, they get a fair bit of damage done and get out, making this 2-Rax more worth it. But oh man, look at this. On Soul's side of the map, oh, he's actually just losing all of his SCVs. He must have let those Lings in by accident. Yeah, okay, that's no good. So this is real bad for Soul now. Yeah, GG. Okay, let's check that back a second. I was just like, all right, focusing on these Reapers, la-di-da-di-da. Terran's probably walled off. Soul was not walled off. So the Marine actually kind of just got chased down by all the Lings that STEPHANO made. And yeah, this was just it. Soul wasn't able to get the Marine behind the SCVs, so yeah, that was just poorly. Alright, looks like we're gonna load on into the next game. So STEPHANO actually takes the game here, which is great to see, and the series continues on. I mean, who knows how many... I was just gonna cast these in 3s for the replays, but Soul could close it out in this next one. We shall see. Just gotta log on in. Unfortunately, Blizzard, with the curse of whenever there's an update, old replays, or replays even if they're still like on the same balance patch, you've still got to like log out every time you want to cast one of them, which is a pretty big pain. But we're just loading right on into the next one here. That one was pretty darn short, and this map's going to be Cyber Forest, so we'll see how this one's going to go. I mean, Soul went for a cheeky proxy. We'll see if he does it again. I mean, that would be pretty funny, on just proxying again and again when you've just got 1 more map to win in a best of 9 and a lot of grace. But we'll see if STEPHANO is able to bring this back. I mean, he's already begun the reverse sweep. We'll see if he can do it, though. I've already said their names a lot, and this is the final game for this video anyway. I figured I'd just cast in 3s until I'm out of replays for this best of 9. So make sure to leave a like if you guys are enjoying this video. Make sure to leave a like if you're glad that I'm back casting StarCraft 2. Make sure to leave a like for the fact that Soul is not proxying here. And yeah, just hope you guys are enjoying this commentary. I know there's a lot of good replays out there, and it's killed me not to be able to just like sit down and cast all the good tournament replays that are out there. So that's been kind of painful. But of course, there's like GSL versus the World. I don't know if they'll release replays or not. I'm not sure. But then, of course, there's other really good tournaments that have gone on and whatnot. And then, yeah, we shall see what else there is to cast, because I do plan on really getting back into this with the daily cast, guys. So those of you that have stuck around, those of you still enjoying the commentary, even though I took a bit of a hiatus from my peak casting, we're gonna look to get back on into this. And of course, I'm glad to say that like the tournament that I organize myself, Afrika World, will be coming back, because it was actually Afrika who brought me out to Korea. It was really great of them. So I couldn't pass up that opportunity, even if it meant not casting for a little bit. I had Starcraft dream to fulfill. Went and watched the GSL versus the World live, which was absolutely amazing. I mean, spoilers. I'm not going to spoil who won, but I very well may cast some of those games on this channel if the replays were released. All right, let's take a look here. Command Center on the way here for Soul. So just going for a standard Reaper expand. STEPHANO playing it pretty standard. And yeah, well, completely standard between these two players. I didn't actually catch that it was an early pool in that last game to counter the 2-racks, but as far as 2-racks goes, that's generally just bad news bears, as the last thing you want to do is be rolling on up with your SCV and Marine, and then you're like, uh-oh, there's already Lings out, and the Zerg player is just gonna bot me in a sense. I mean, Soul probably could have dragged that game out and maybe won it in the longer sense that previous game if he hadn't let those Lings into his base, but I guess he maybe underestimated the fact that STEPHANO would just run his Lings across the map and just kind of like a madman, and so Soul lost all of his SCVs since that Marine died. Now though, new game, new slate. Cyber Forest is the map. Soul just poking and prodding with his Reaper. Being a pain like Terrans usually are, just a massive pain in a Zerg side. For now, though, it's not like a Ling or anything has really died, so STEPHANO doing what he needs to do, and we'll see where this game's going to go from here. The Reaper for Soul just not able to deny the third base this game, so that's pretty good for STEPHANO, getting that up on the way. You never want to be bothered by something like a Reaper. And Cyber Forest, a pretty good map for the Zerg, not having to worry about that Reaper, because if it does go into the main base, there's no easy out for it, so it's probably a pretty dead Reaper. Meanwhile, on Soul's side of the map, just going for a simple 1-1-1, similar to his previous game of this video, as the last one started with a 2-racks, but the one before that started like this, into a third CC, but that is not the case this game, as we're going to be seeing a Fusion Core, which means probable battle cruisers from Soul. Of course, there's always a chance of Liberator range, you never know, but BC is pretty common in the meta these days. Now let's take a look. Reaper Grenade getting tossed on down. Gonna be poking these queens. I see some, I've seen some complaints kind of about the battlecruiser rushing being a common thing in TvZ, and it's like, oh yeah, that's kind of true. BCs, they are rushed a fair bit these days, but they're not used too much in the late game, honestly. They still have some weakness there in a sense. Oh, looks like Soul just charged on in here, by the way, with his Reaper and Hellion. Gonna be able to pick off a queen there. Gotta be careful not to let these Hellions get caught. But yeah, BCs, as I was saying before that queen got killed there, they're pretty darn good in the early game. In the late game, not so much. I do apologize for being an unprofessional commentator, guys, and not logging myself off Steam. But I just came home, guys, and pretty much turned on my PC and just loaded up the game. And Steam is on auto start. Look at that sick move there by Soul. He's shooting at his own Reaper to kill off the creep tumor. Of course, if he loses the Reaper, might not look so sick, but denying that every creep tumor in the early game is very nice for a Terran. And let's see, this battle cruiser is going to roll up on STEPHANO in like 30 seconds, so could be having himself a bit of a tough time. Meanwhile, there is indeed a command center on the way. A Roach Warren, a Lair, and more queens on the way already, though, for STEPHANO, so that's kind of the makings of an early defense versus this kind of opening. And meanwhile, another Spore Crawler already on the way, so STEPHANO must really have sniffed this out or something. Did he spot this? Oh, he actually did spot the Fusion Core, so nice job to this Overlord here, being the real MVP. Just letting STEPHANO know that a BC rush is on the way, and knowing is half the battle in StarCraft 2, so we see STEPHANO. He made that extra Spore Crawler, and he's just going to be producing more and more queens. Let's see, Hellions and Reaper going to run on in. Oh, the battlecruiser actually just teleports right on top, though, so Soul going for the aggressive option, not so much the harassment option. Though the Hellions getting some damage done, picking off a queen or two. Nothing too major has happened, and we are actually seeing STEPHANO go for a counterattack. There is indeed a wall, though, at this natural, though, so that is just so pivotal here for Soul not being just dying to the Sling counterattack. He does have to maybe get some SCVs on these depots, though, repairing, as if those Lings get in, it's going to be really problematic. It's actually going to be so close whether Soul saves that. Oh my god, that depot just barely staying alive. So very, very good timing there for Soul. Really, really walking the line there. Does do what he needs to do, though. Prevents those Lings from getting on in. However, there is indeed a potential counterattack here from STEPHANO, as he did make himself a fair bit of roaches right now. And could always move across the map with them. A 4th base is on the way here for STEPHANO. Looks like it's going to be canceled, though, by Soul. Nicely done. Using this BC to work away on that. Is he going to try and deny it again? Oh, he actually gets the kill. That's absolutely huge. Now we see the Hellions still poking around for Soul. STEPHANO, I mean, he's held on. Not completely unscarred, though. Losing that hatchery did kind of hurt. As far as the early game damage done, though, it was pretty darn good for STEPHANO, not taking anything major like that. Let's take a look here. Units lost. It's actually almost nothing. And now we actually see Lings getting on in here towards the natural of STEPHANO, or of Soul, which is going to hurt a little bit. He does have Hellions back, though, so he's safe in that regard. We're seeing a bit of a Roach attack on in towards the natural Soul. I mean, he does have so many Hellions, though, to make Hellbats, and he's got BCs, so these Roaches are on a timer to get anything done. Soul doesn't have a huge amount of SCVs, as he's knocked down to 48. And STEPHANO is just powering up here with his economy, so nothing too bad here for STEPHANO. I mean, Soul does have a ton of Hellions, he's got a couple of BCs, but STEPHANO, I mean, he's done a good job defending. His kind of playstyle just seems to lend naturally to defending this kind of play. The fact that he makes a lot of Roaches, Queens, things like that. Just late game very good here for STEPHANO as well. You do see Soul looking to try and get some work done. These 2 BCs picking off a Queen, picking off an Overlord. STEPHANO kind of overextended with these Queens. They are in trouble as these BCs are starting to pick them off. Maybe even a couple more Overlords going to go down here. Let's see. Overlord going to get popped. Another Overlord potentially getting popped. Yes, indeed. So now we see Soul starting to look to push on in. Yamato Cannon going on down. Queen gets picked off there. BC is now working away on these Roaches, but Soul's Hellbats, they can't really fight Roaches because the Roaches are just so much quicker. They have the better range. Hellbats technically have a little bit of range, but it's practically nothing. A range of 2, which is, yeah, it's basically nothing in StarCraft 2. Looks like STEPHANO might have overcommitted a little bit there to the attack, but he's got a very nice counter going on, picking off some SCVs, denying mining at Soul's 3rd base. And Soul isn't really playing for the late game right now, based on the fact that we haven't seen an extra command center yet. He's still investing in things like BCs, and so STEPHANO going to be pretty comfortable so far, I think, as long as he can hold this pressure. And there's already Infestors out for STEPHANO, which is actually huge. I didn't even see that. There's Passage and Glance, but no Neural Parasite to take over the BCs. The Fungal, though, will lock them down, and a Fungal does prevent a Battlecruiser from teleporting away, so that could be a very, very unfortunate here for Soul if he eats a few nasty Fungals. Tank Cell on the high ground, very good here for Soul, but it's not really that much of an army here. More of his forces are rolling on up, but they're a little bit late to the party. Tanks are sieged on up, but Corrosive Ball is going on down, and this is actually really going to hurt here. Or Soul loses a Battlecruiser, teleports to try and dodge a Bile. That other one not so lucky, though. And more Infested Terran getting thrown on down. So Soul actually going to tap on out as that push fails, just realizing he's on 3 bases. I don't know if he should have necessarily GG'd there, but yeah, that was a very nice hold. And I guess there was a potential of a counterattack that would have just killed him. So we actually see the score at the end of this video. STEPHANO lost the first map of this video, but then won the next 2. So this best of 9, as it currently sits, is currently 4-2 for Soul. So he just needs one more map win to close it out, or can STEPHANO bring it back to win? We will find out in the next video. I'm being that YouTuber who's like, oh, go watch the next part. Yeah, guys, actually go watch the next part, as this video is already gonna have been like an hour long, so I am breaking it up. But yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying this commentary. Now that I'm back, I'm going to be doing a lot more replay commentary whenever I can. So I'll see you guys next time. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to press that like button. I'll say that once more. And if you're new to the channel and you stayed to the end of this video, feel free to press that subscribe button. I'll see you guys next time. This has been LaughNgamez.